Notice this phrase, dopamine loading, floating around the self-help space, and I don't know who really made it, but the way I've seen it explained isn't really the best, and I think it can be explained more simply. And also, I wanted to explain kind of the principles around it so you understand how to use this to increase your own motivation. And so, the way it's been explained is you delay your highly dopaminergic activities for as long as you can during the day, trying to do them as late in the day as possible. Basically, they say you save up this dopamine, so your dopamine is steady, you engage in important tasks that you want to do throughout the day, and then you have all that dopamine saved up and you spike it with things at the end of the day. And the reason that this tool works is because, number one, our dopamine replenishes overnight. So in the morning, you'll notice you feel more motivated to do things that require more effort. And so this is a very important time to avoid highly dopaminergic things because it's easier to do those hard tasks. And now, if you did engage in those addictive things early in the day, for example, if you got up and just immediately started scrolling on social media, you are going to spike your dopamine, and that's going to lead to a crash. And it's kind of going to use up those stores of dopamine, so you're not going to want to engage in those effortful tasks as much. Whereas if you just go straight to those hard tasks, it's going to be easier, and those things are actually going to naturally build your dopamine. Because when we engage in things that are hard, things that require effort, those things naturally increase dopamine and don't lead to a crash. The other kind of principle behind this is what's called reinforcement. And this is something that increases the chances of a behavior happening. So if you want to increase the chances of you doing effortful tasks, then you reinforce that behavior by rewarding it or punishing the opposite, basically. And so by doing this dopamine loading, by saving the entertainment and the dopamine spiking things for later in the day, maybe you like watching a certain show or playing a game or a certain food, by saving that for as a reward, it reinforces doing that work earlier in the day. Actively think about this and understand that you are rewarding yourself, because otherwise you could engage in those things even if you didn't put the work towards them. And so this is why I think it's super important to have someone who keeps you accountable as well, because they can make sure that you don't reward yourself if you didn't actually do the work that you said you were going to do. So, about reward, it's highly personal, so it depends on what you like. You know, it could be some sort of food, some sort of activity, but it really depends on you. So for me, a reward I used to use was like a yogurt sort of dessert, which wasn't actually like an addictive dessert. It was just like yogurt with fruit, honey, nuts. I loved this, and I would only let myself eat it if I completed my tasks and my goals for the day, and I had someone who kept me accountable to that. You can also reward yourself with your actual dopaminergic habit that you're trying to quit. For example, if you're trying to wean down on that thing, you can start by saying, okay, if I was playing, for example, if I was scrolling on social media for 2 hours every day, my new goal would be, okay, if I complete my tasks, then I can scroll for an hour at the end of the day. And then you slowly reduce that as your brain kind of gets used to doing that less and gets used to completing your tasks more. Now, I do want to address one pitfall, which is that this method is very helpful for people who are weaning down on their habits, and it may not be as helpful for those who are trying to go cold turkey, because either of these methods can work. The weaning method, as I've described, or the cold turkey method, which is just completely cutting out your habits altogether at once. And that might sound crazy, but for different people, these are going to be more or less effective. Some people can't do the weaning. As soon as they engage in their habit, they crave it more, they just want to keep doing it, and so they need to just cut it out completely. And in that case, they're not going to want to do the dopamine loading in this way by rewarding themselves with their habit. They're going to want to reward themselves with something less stimulating, but also fulfills that need for whether it be relaxing, having fun, connecting with others. And so, to summarize, try to avoid spiking your dopamine as much as possible until later in the day. Figure out how to replace your dopaminergic habits with those activities that you are important to you, that take effort. Do those in the morning, and then reward yourself later in the day, and you'll find yourself slowly more and more motivated to do things that improve your life. Now, if you're wanting more details, more structured plan for this, then check out the description. I'd love to chat with you sometime, or if you have any questions, put down a comment below, and I'd be happy to answer it.